Welcome back, everyone, and thanks for joining us again today for another part of our series for native market success. We welcome back Dustin Finkel, CEO of Awaken Foods and creator and founder of Kapop. He has been the CEO of many natural foods companies, and he is here today to talk with us about direct marketing. Welcome, Dustin.
Thank you, Brittany and Latasha and Johanna. Thanks for having me. I'm really excited to share a bit more about marketing. If you had the chance, I have a few other series that you guys can watch, a marketing overview and a innovation presentation as well. And I think they all really well flow together to help you understand direct marketing. So if there's any questions, please feel free to watch those and contact me with my contact information at the end. So for those of you who've seen some of the other presentations, the first slides will be repetitive on who I am. Let's give you a reason to pay attention to me. My name is Dustin Finkel, as I said, and I have an extensive background in consumer packaged goods, finance, etc. I have worked for a lot of these great companies, a lot of these great brands, and or all of them, I should say, not some of them. I was the first to launch a nationwide gluten-free product with gluten-free rice checks. I had the opportunity to launch new brands with multiple different consumer packaged goods and do the marketing as well. As Brittany mentioned, I started Awaken Foods and launched Kapop, which has been recognized as the fastest growing company in Colorado 2 years running. And of course, my favorite part of all this in my career has been the opportunity to be featured on Shark Tank. So if you get a chance to watch me on Shark Tank, I swam with the sharks and it was an incredible success. In the 9 days after airing, we sold more than the entire previous year combined. So I would call that a win. So for those of you who have watched my other presentations, you will know that I always start with this and say that marketing must always be focused on the target consumer. In the marketing overview presentation, you'll learn a lot more about how to find your target, how to segment your consumers into a target market. Everything that you do as a company, from your brand, your product, your innovation, and definitely your marketing, should be focused on who your target market is. And so that's really critical. But when you think about your target market, it's also important to think about how your marketing target may differ than your core target, because there's things like gatekeepers. There's things like who actually grabs the product off the shelf in food. So I always like to put Brittany on the spot in these presentations. Brittany, what demographic group do you think is the #1 influencer of purchases in America?
Millennials.
That's a great guess. And in fact, I would argue that that's a phenomenal guess, but it's wrong. Unfortunately, it is not correct. The correct answer is kids. Believe it or not, kids are the #1 influencer of purchases in America. And so if you think about how this impacts what consumers buy, moms are the gatekeeper. And that's why I really think it's incredibly important to think about who your gatekeeper is versus who your target is. Shelf placement. If you see the picture with that little girl picking up crackers or whatever off the shelf, if you're unable to get placement that is meant for kid height, that can really dramatically impact your product. But again, if you're marketing towards Gen X or baby boomers, it doesn't really matter. So understanding who your consumer is, who your target is, who's making the purchase decision, and who's driving the purchase, all three of those are critically important. And again, a quick shout out, or not again, but a quick shout out to my 2 lovely kids in the top right, because they're so cute and I had to throw them in this presentation. But the point of this slide is it's really critical when you're marketing to think about, again, who your target market is, who's making the decision, and who the gatekeeper is. All marketing goes through what we call a marketing funnel. Okay, the marketing funnel is essentially, I start with this idea that I need something, and then I go to buying it. So on the right, you kind of see the true marketing funnel. I need to be, awareness needs to be driven. I need to have interest in the product, and I need them to desire to purchase it. And then there's the action of purchasing it. Everyone goes through the thing on the left, which is kind of the consumer decision process. Every single one of us goes through this every single time we buy something, regardless if it's immediate or how much we need it. So an example is, regardless if the product is really cheap, like a pack of gum, you go through it, you still go through this. You might recognize your need for a pack of gum by seeing it on shelf. Your information search might be, which brand do I like? You see the different brands, you pick which one you want, and then it's good or it's bad. We all go through this process. What dictates how long the process is typically how risky the purchase is or how expensive the purchase is, which sometimes ties into risk. Those things are really important. What factors really drive this? So again, if you were part of the marketing overview presentation or watched it, you'll know the 4Ps, and I'll talk a lot about them, but the 4Ps are absolutely critical in a consumer decision process and how you market them. What the product is, how much does it cost, where is it sold, and how do I learn about it? Without those 4 things, consumers won't be engaging in your product. The next is psychological factors, right? What are their moods? What is the environment that they're buying it in? How do they feel about that environment? Think about somebody buying something at a farmer's market versus buying something at a grocery store versus even Costco. Each environment creates a different perceptual value on a product. When you go into Costco, you're probably already expecting to pay more money per thing. You're expecting to get a lot more value, but the price tags could be higher. Whereas the farmer's market, you're probably much more willing to try things you've never tried before. These things really matter as you think about your marketing of a product. What are the situational factors? Am I buying because I'm hungry? Am I buying for my kids? Am I buying for myself? Am I buying because a storm's coming? Because of COVID? These things matter. And then finally, the social factors. What type of culture? What type of buying process do I go through? Am I used to negotiating? Do I make decisions quickly? Do we have to buy things as a family? These things really matter. And again, what's critical about these is who your target is, because again, think about one target versus another, significantly different ways of going through this circle here. If you're a single young millennial at their first job, you'll go through this process very different than potentially a Gen X who has older kids about to go to college in their house. It's a very different engagement cycle. So as you think about executing a marketing campaign, you have the goals, you want to inform them about your product, you want to persuade them to buy it, and then you want to remind them about your product and what you are. And so the way we're going to go through this is, again, who is your target market? You'll hear me say that ad nauseum during this presentation. You're going to want to set your objectives and your goals, right? What's your goal? So we have 3 over here: inform, persuade, and remind. Marketing rarely does all 3, right? And so are we here to bring awareness to our product? Is this new to the world? They've never heard of me. They've never heard of my product. Well, we want to inform them. Maybe we built that awareness, but we're really not seeing that transaction value. So we really want to focus our marketing on persuading people to pull the trigger and buy that product. Or maybe, we went through that sales cycle, but we're not seeing the repeat. So now we really want to remind them. The next one here is determining the advertising budget. And later in the presentation, I'm going to talk about ways in how you think about making your advertising budget. How do you convey? Well, again, all of this is going to come through the deck, but people perceive messages differently. We talked about the young millennial versus the old Gen X. Think about how they decode a message differently. The same ad can be interpreted very differently from one audience to the next. And that's really, really important. Again, why your target market and your marketing target is really, really important. Which channel do you want to market? Most of us do not have the budgets to do TV and radio and print and social. You're probably going to have to be selective. And so do you do social? Do you do targeted search? Do you do radio, etc.? How do we think about which media we want to go after? The creation of the advertising. We're not going to spend too much time on creation, but we'll understand how you create that. And then finally, again, like everything else, is it working? Because if we're not measuring, we are not succeeding because we don't know if it's working or it's not working. How do we measure that? We'll talk through some of that as well. So let's jump into picking your marketing channel. It's absolutely critical that as you pick your marketing channels, that everything is integrated together. If you have different marketing channels and the messaging is not consistent, that's a problem. I talk about this in the marketing overview, but think about branding. We all know Coca-Cola. Brittany, what's Coca-Cola look like? What's the can of Coke look like?
It's red.
What kind of font did they use? Cursive, is that? What if every time you went to the grocery store, the color changed, the print changed, the name changed? You had no idea, right? That is an obvious example of a poorly executed program. What's funny about that is that obviously sounds stupid, but so many times marketing messages across different channels are not cohesive. And so while you're marketing on a print ad over here, your social banner over here do not tie in, and you're not building the value across your marketing channels. Integration, cohesiveness is so critically important. Make sure you're developing a a crystal consistent message. And then the next part is, what's the advantage that a particular channel gives you? So you think about a print ad, you have the opportunity to engage with the consumer in a very different way than you do a radio ad, than you do a TV, than you do a social, etc. There's different ways to really think about that. So who are your customers? What are the results you're trying to get? And then you pick the channel that best delivers those results. I use Red Bull here as an example because many big brands actually fail to deliver cohesiveness. I think Red Bull does a phenomenal job of this. They're all about extreme sports. They're all about being extreme. Red Bull gives you wings. So even the commercials that are cartoony, that kind of don't really tie into this, they're still all about Red Bull gives you wings. Red Bull gives you energy to do the things that you might not do otherwise. And they do that through sponsoring all of these crazy activities. The guy in the top right that did the largest skydive ever, he literally was in outer space and skydived. If you guys haven't seen that, it's unbelievable. You have the races, you have the people where people build their own machines and drive them off a little bridge into the water. They are all about extreme. It's all cohesive. Red Bull gives you wings is cohesive, right? Really powerful way to do this. Now, when you think about your channels, it's really important to think about the different opportunities that you do. So to be successful, you need to deliver the right message to the consumer in the right medium. So we're going to go through some of these, and I'm going to take you through each of these a bit more in detail here. So we have offline, online, interactive, and passive. So let's talk about offline and interactive. We have sales promotions, for instance, contests, different ways to engage consumers in your brand. You want people to feel that excitement. You want people to engage, right? Direct marketing, that's the opportunity to really connect one-on-one with consumers. Now, telemarketing has obviously gone kind of by the wayside, although I continue to get spam calls quite a bit. It's amazing, though, other ways to direct market. There's email marketing, which isn't offline, but you have email marketing, you have other ways, direct mail, etc. The next group is the interactive online. I talked about direct marketing being like mobile marketing, text messaging. That's one-on-one engagement, and you're allowed to sub-segment. The power of sub-segmenting your market's critical. So you might go after males who are athletic and like to work out. That's a big group, but you have products that go after that group, but maybe you want to sub-segment those that are into weightlifting versus those that are into yoga. With really robust knowledge, you can then set separate direct messaging to each of those consumer bases. If I get a message that talks to me, I'm much more likely to buy than if I get a message that clearly is just broadcast out to a group of people. The next bucket here is passive and offline. Advertising, right? There's no interaction there. It's just kind of put out there. Public relations, it's just put out there. They still have incredible power to drive awareness and engagement. We're going to talk through the benefits there. And then finally, direct marketing, passive and online, email. This is one that is going to be a big shock to everyone, I think, unless you're doing email marketing now. Think about how many emails we get. It's unbelievable. And yet email marketing is the single best marketing toolkit for small companies trying to develop an audience. It has the highest click-through rate, the highest ROI. And I'm going to go through some of that later in the presentation. It was one of those that kind of surprised me as I built my own company, but it's proof positive time and time again. Now, the first area we're going to talk about is public relations. In a world where marketing is not seen as credible, advertising is seen as fake, public relations is a very, very powerful tool. It allows you to ingrain with media, ingrain with your consumers in a way that is not obviously marketing. So, for example, when I was on Shark Tank, we were able to get local news stations, local print. They did stories on us. It doesn't feel like marketing, but obviously having hundreds, if not millions of people read about my brand as an article is very, very powerful. So PR is a great way to get your message out there. However, the market is still very cluttered. So you need to make sure that your messaging is still unique, right? So if you put something out there like a new flavor launch and you try and get public relations information on that, it's not that exciting. People aren't going to read about that. If you launch something new, you develop a new way to develop sustainability in your product, a sustainable way to fish, a sustainable way to grow your crops. That's newsworthy. That creates public relation understanding. Getting free marketing through public relations is powerful. Now, public relations is typically done through PR agencies. They are typically on a retainer basis. I will tell you on the side that I'm not a huge fan of retainer-based public relations. However, that's typically how it's done. I would look hard for public relations agencies that can work with you on a project by project basis. Because again, having news out there about your company, we are not that special anymore to have really incredible things come out about us every time. But when you do have those special moments, you want to spend the money to drive the awareness of those projects through public relations. So for instance, if I do a sustainability project, Shark Tank, these are bigger moments that are worth integrating with consumers. Sales promotion is incredibly powerful, especially with limited budgets. So there's something in all of our P&Ls, profit and loss statements, called trade. This is how we integrate with our consumers, or our direct customers, as they say. Because if you think about it, we have two different audiences we're going after typically, especially in food. You have your customer, which might be the Krogers of the world. You're really selling to them. And in some cases, you're not even selling to Kroger. You're selling to a distributor who sells to Kroger, who then sells to the consumer. And so you're now marketing to the distributor, to the retailer, and to the consumer. And so you're trying to manage all of those different channels. That's why sales promotions are a great tool, because they kind of enhance all three. You're giving benefit to all three of those middlemen, so to speak. Sales promotions are undertakings that are driven to drive purchase engagement, the bottom of the funnel. This is all about bottom of the funnel activity. It doesn't mean that this won't drive awareness or drive interest, but it's typically driven to drive engagement. What's great about sales promotions is you're really incentivizing action. You're incentivizing action quickly, and it drives velocity at the store level. So one of the things that you want to do is you want to think about these kind of attributes out of the bottom. So you want to minimize the risk by not doing it too frequently and not being too over the top. Consumers get very smart about sales promotions. Think about all of our shopping. You go into a store and you see a product that you know is going to be on sale next month. You might just wait till next month to stock up. So what ends up happening is not only are you not getting increased sales, you're just subsidizing the people who already buy your product. An example, I love a particular brand of gum, and I go to Walgreens or King Soopers to buy that particular type of gum, and I know they're going to be on sale. If they're not on sale now, they're going to be on sale in 2 weeks. And so I'll just wait if I need to, and then I'll just stock up. That's not driving the right behavior for consumers. You're literally just subsidizing sales. You want to make a profit through this. So you still want to make sure it fits within your P&L, it fits within your profit. But what's great, if you price this right and think about price elasticity, you will drive a sudden increase in sales. And that's really, really powerful in making a profit. You're going to attract new customers because this does drive trial. It's going to retain customers because, again, if that purchase cycle is longer than you want it to be, it might drive a purchase back more quickly. And then you're going to speed up that sales cycle because, again, you're driving behavior at the bottom of the funnel. You're driving that action. You're driving the sales. So I'm a huge fan of sales promotions. You can do this in a lot of different ways. FSIs, freestanding inserts, which is the thing on the top left with silk. You can do through couponing. If you think about in-store, shelf tags can be a promotion. You can do it through a contest. There's so many different ways to drive that sales promotion. Typically, it's based on price, though. It's typically based on like 2 for $6 or $1 off or what have you. Other ways to do sales promotions are listed on this slide. I'm not going to go through each one, but these are a lot of different ways to drive action, to drive engagement, to drive loyalty with your consumers. So again, sales promotions of a lot of the things we're going to talk about today are the most tangible and recognizable ways that you can interact with your consumers. I would say this and emails are two things you should be doing immediately to drive engagement. Now, it doesn't need to be as sophisticated as the coupons and the things you see up in the top right. This can be discounts you send via email. So email can become a sales promotion. You can post a Facebook ad and saying, here's a coupon. There's so many different ways to do this cost effectively and quickly. Websites. So, plug for my website here. Hope you guys like it. But this websites, they add legitimacy to our business. So a lot of people ask nowadays with social media and other things, why do we need websites? Well, websites still are the legitimate home base of your business. It creates the impression. People go to your website to learn more, to engage, to buy products. It's really, really important. Now, there's a dilemma with people building websites. When websites kind of first emerged, back in the day, it was how long do we get people to stay on our website? So you wanted them to stay as long as possible. Now there's a push and pull there because in some senses, a lot of people go to websites to buy products. And if they're staying on there too long, it typically means that they can't find what they want and they're not able to make that transaction. So really, and we'll see this later, it's really, really critical to understand where people are coming to your website from and how that changes the consumer journey. So if you're doing a consumer promotion via email or a sales promotion, you want to create a separate landing page for them to go right into the call to action that you're giving them. The call to action is buy the seasonal product that we're launched, a pumpkin product. You want to take them right to that pumpkin page. You don't want to take them to the home page so that they can learn more. You'll lose that customer 9 times out of 10. Unique landing pages or specific landing pages based on sales promotion. If your sales promotion is about learning about our sustainability mission, take them to the sustainability platform. Again, you don't want to confuse and stress consumers out. We all have heard about our friends at social media, the Facebook, and there's a video that I'm going to show in a little bit that talks a lot more about this. But the #1 population on Earth, I believe, is Facebook, above every other population on Earth. And so it is a huge, huge, powerful platform. There's advantages to brands, and then there's challenges to brands. Some of the advantages, Brittany, my friend, can I pick on you? What do you think, as you think about an advantage to a brand, what would be a great advantage to a brand by using social media platforms?
Well, you hit Instagram. If you hit Facebook, well, I guess you said social media platforms, widespread views. It's easy to share.
Yep. You're directly interacting with consumers. There is no other platform in which you are directly interacting with consumers, and they can interact back with you very quickly. This is both an advantage and disadvantage. We talked in a separate deck about innovation, but one of the ways I really like to think about innovation is through what people talk to you about on your social media. There is interaction. The challenge is consumers now expect you to be available 24/7 and react quickly. So it's really powerful that if you're going to do social media, that you really have somebody that's interacting with consumers quickly. This is also an area that I think is especially important to be managed by somebody on your team or very close to your team. A lot of times we think of this secondarily, say I'm going to have somebody else monitor the emails or the interactions on social media, but this is your chance to communicate directly with consumers, to have one-on-one interactions. A lot of times they'll come to you when things are wrong. This is a chance to regain their trust, regain your image in their eyes. We call it flossum, being awesome after a flaw. You want to be flossum. And the opportunity to do that is typically through these engagements. And you'll be surprised. So I'm the CEO of my company. Now, that sounds cool, but my company's not that big. It's not like being the CEO of Pepsi or Coke. But yet, when I choose to engage with the consumer and they say and it says CEO of Kapop or CEO of BeFine or whatever, or CEO of Awaken, they feel special. They feel like they're getting the attention that they want to get. That's powerful, and it's such small activities for us to do. So really, really powerful marketing. Now I'm going to attempt to show you guys a video here. So let's see if this works, guys. I'm going to tell you, just stop me if you guys aren't able to hear anything here. You guys still see the video?
Yes.
Of course, there's an advertisement. This is a great example of advertising on social media, on YouTube. Can you guys hear this?
Not really.
Let's see what's up. Now?
Someone speaking? We can't hear anything.
You can just watch. We'll just watch it. There's just music. Just watch it. So I like to think that's a powerful way to understand how I can't get rid of the thing here. I'm gonna have to give me 1 second. Sorry. So it's a powerful way to understand the power of social media, digital. If you are not engaging where consumers are, you're missing the market. If you think about how we look for jobs now, it used to be the classifieds, right, in the paper. Now it's all online. How we shop for cars, how we engage for information. The #1 resource for information is your friends. You know, Google, I'll throw this one back out there to you, Brittany. Who do you think Google's #1 competitor is?
Oh gosh, I don't know.
It's Amazon. Where do people go for Amazon? 77% of all new product research starts on Amazon, not Google. People are looking for that. And so that's why that quote about Amazon trust. So there's real power there in understanding the need and the power of digital marketing. We need to understand that. So doing digital marketing is a whole nother session that we can do and talk about, and I'm happy to do it. But it's really important, I'd say, in digital marketing to find people that understand how to operate in the digital environment and execute there, because it's not as easy and there's so much noise and there's so much competition. So it's really important. Keep going here. Oh, it's going to start again. See if I can get here. So I mentioned this. We see that people are engaging on social media. Well, now 93% of marketers use social media. So what does that mean? It means, should I be there, or does it mean I need to find other channels or unique ways to engage? Social media is a huge platform. Most of us have heard of TikTok by now. When TikTok first emerged, there wasn't a lot of marketing being done on TikTok. Yet now we see that happening more and more. And so that saturation happens. We need to move quickly, find where our consumers are, and go after that. Now, TikTok might sound sexy, cool, exciting. If our target market's not on TikTok, we're just wasting money. So again, is your target market Gen X? Is it millennials? Is it Gen Y, digital natives, etc.? I mentioned this a few times. We're going to spend a bit of time here. Email marketing. Email marketing is so powerful. It still surprises me, even as a marketing professor, as a marketer, as a CEO. I'm still flabbergasted every time I see these stats, but I can tell you from personal experience and from the stats, this is really powerful stuff. It's the highest conversion rate over the past 10 years, the highest ROI. We're going to go through ROI and things like that in a bit. Compared with social media, it's 40 times more effective at acquiring new customers. It's also significantly impactful in retaining customers, driving the sales cycle. And what's great about email is you can really hit all of those different things. You can hit awareness. You can hit drive, desire, and action through sales promotions. You can drive learning about need recognition through your emails. It really is powerful because you can flex and bold. So we're going to go through these key tips, and we're going to talk a little bit about each one here quickly. Using automated platforms. What I mean by that is you don't want to just send an email from Outlook or Gmail to your consumers. You want to hook up. There's great tools like Klaviyo, Klaviyo, MailChimp, Fishbowl. There's a lot of different opportunities out there. And what these sites do is they allow you to create sequences. And so they automate when does an email go out. So for instance, you might send a welcome email after someone signs up for your newsletter. It's an auto-generated email, and it's targeted just at those people who are joining. Or you might want to send one after someone purchases something to thank them. Or you may want to send an email after they abandon their shopping cart. These can all be generated. These programs also allow you to quickly see the results. Which ones are getting clicked on? Where are they clicking? Why are they clicking? Etc. So it's well worth it, and they're very cheap, very, very cheap, especially to small companies. You want to track that performance. One of the things that happens is you might dial in that email flow and have great results. But again, within a few months, that's broken because trends have changed, consumers' experiences changed, your email list has grown, shrunk, etc. So you want to constantly keep that performance. The most important thing to driving emails is having people to send them to. So at every opportunity you have, drive email lists. Whether you're doing demos and sampling events, drive lists. Encourage your consumers to sign up, incent them to sign up. So a great metric is it's worth about $10, give or take, for every email that you get on your email list. Now, that can end up being a lot of money, but just as a baseline, give them opportunities. Buy a free product, a free sample for signing up to our email, 50% off for signing up to our email. You'll notice on most sites nowadays, when you land on their site, it will say, sign up for our email list, get 15, 30, 40% off, because again, they understand the power of email marketing. What's incredible about email marketing versus every other channel is I can get all your information, because when you sign up now, I know your gender. You might get them to answer a few survey questions. You might be able to understand a lot more. You understand their buying behavior. You're able to sub-target much more effectively than any other channel. Use promotions. The most effective emails, most obviously, are the ones that offer aggressive promotions. That's what's going to drive that engagement, that purchase, that cycle repeat. Your content needs to be value-laden. So even if it's not a dollar value off, are you adding value to your consumers? That's different for every target market. Here are some other things I'm not going to go through, but making your call to action, CTA's call to action. Make sure your call to actions are clear. Make sure your subject has a call to action. Personalize your content. Sub-segment. So again, with email, you'll understand who your different clients are, who your different customers are, what they want, what they do. Focus on what they are, not just your broad-based email list. So a email list with 100 people can be sub-segmented twice. An email list with 8,000 people could be sub-segmented 20 times. Think about sub-segmenting, and that's really, really important. So emails, emails, emails. Search engine marketing. We all know about this. When you go to search engines, you want it to be optimized. We all probably have heard of SEO, which is search engine optimization. That's where you make sure that your website, that your content is optimized for Google and their Google Analytics and all those types of things. And as that video just mentioned, video, 83% of content is enjoyed via video. So video has a high SEO. Creating video content for your website is powerful. But it's also important to make sure that you're sponsoring your search so that you show up on top. You don't want someone to search for your product and be on the second page. No one ever goes to the second page. No one ever scrolls down very far either. Being at the top of Google results is critical, more critical than you can possibly realize. So really driving through. Now, there's a couple of different ways that people think about search engine marketing and digital marketing in general. The first is impressions. It's the one that I like the least, but a lot of times is the fun one to talk about. Impressions are how many theoretical eyeballs have seen your advertisement or your search engine optimization. So let's say 10 million people search personal injury attorney and land on this page. Your impressions in theory are 10 million. That doesn't mean 10 million people actually saw you or saw that, let's go with the last one, baldieslaw.net. It just means that 10 million people in theory could have seen it. That's why I'm not a big fan of impressions. However, I will say that the more impressions, the more chance people are going to click on your thing or see it. But again, impressions is a very generic, overused term in my opinion. What you want is click-through rate, CTR, click-through rate. How many people actually click on my ad? How many people actually click on my banner? Click-through rate is powerful. You actually want to make money on these ads. So ROI, return on investment. There's two different return metrics. There's ROI and there's ROAS, return on ad spend. The difference is powerful. ROI takes into consideration everything you do to sell that product. It's the cost of goods sold. It's all the things that went into the ad, into that sale. So your ROI is very important because ultimately from a profitability standpoint, you want everything you do to have a high ROI. Whereas ROAS is what's your return on that particular ad spend? And it's just focused on the cost of spending for that ad. So it's the denominator is a bit different, but powerful to know the difference and what your goals are. Because driving more awareness, you're focused on ROAS for sure. Now you've gotten them through the marketing funnel. You got them ready to buy the product. You got them excited to buy the product, and then you lose them. You get the abandoned cart syndrome. And why is that? We want to prevent that. The worst thing in the world is the abandoned cart. You got them all the way through the marketing funnel. They're ready to buy, and then they drop out. And so these three pictures are things that always are like the top three reasons people abandon carts. One is speed, right? So if you think about that, how many times have you gone into a store just to buy a couple of things, and you see the guy in the back there just wants to buy some toilet paper, and there's 4 or 5, 6 people in front of him? He's just going to eventually say, screw it, I'm leaving, and he's not going to buy that. The quantification of that is in the billions and billions of dollars that costs. So reducing line time. And that's something that grocery stores do analysis on, when they should open up a new line. But reduce, what I talked about earlier with your website, getting them through ClickOff faster. For every page that a consumer has to click on a website, the drop-off is remarkable. So reducing the pages to transaction is incredibly huge. Being out of inventory. God, think about how many times someone's ready to buy, they're going to buy your product, your brand, they go to your site, they go to the store, and you're out of it. They now will probably not buy from you, they will buy from somebody else. They might buy from a competitor. Not only did you lose that sale, you might have lost a lifetime customer because now they become brand loyal to somebody else. So out of stocks is a huge issue for a lot of companies. These are really, really important things to think about. We focus so much as marketers at getting them to the purchase, we forget about how to actually make them drive that purchase and close the deal. Here are some other ways to think about keeping you from failing at that transactionary point. Include as few fields as possible. The bold ones are kind of the ones I think are really powerful. Adding a guarantee so you create that confidence in that purchase. Various payment options. People come to sites or stores all the time, a Discover card, for instance, versus an Amex versus a Visa. Now we have PayPal, we have Amazon payments, we have Shopify payments. Having flexibility, it's really easy to have that flexibility. It's really, really important. Having customer service available, chat tools are really powerful new features that allow consumers to feel that confidence that they're engaging. One of the struggles that consumers have is that when they see advertisements, and this is a huge problem with social media ads, and you'll see actually if you read in a lot of the comments, they don't trust the site they're going to. That's why they end up going to Amazon. And it's fine to sell on Amazon, which is a whole separate issue, but you want to create and capture that consumer. And so not having that trust is powerful. So chat tools, guarantees, refunds, all of those things are very, very powerful. Making sure your call to actions are really strong. And then recommending related products is a way to increase not only that consumer confidence in consumer purchase, but increase basket size. Now, going back to that trust thing, I will tell you when we launched on Shark Tank originally, and we got this huge explosion of sales, there was one of the biggest issues was trust. People didn't believe that we were really going to get them the product. People were constantly pinging us, and having the resources to respond to consumers was huge. And the amount of times we got responses from our responses saying, I can't believe you're a real person, or this is amazing, thanks for responding. That drove not only the purchase confidence, but it drove that loyalty and future engagement as well. So all of these things are really, really important. And the most important thing, of course, is testing, because you want to test, test, test. One thing I overlooked, and I'm going to come back to real quick on email marketing, is testing. One of the things that platforms allow you to do is test. There's a tool in research called A/B testing, A and B testing. Sending the same email with slightly different features to same target, but different people, and seeing which one works better allows you to understand what works. You don't want to have 20 different variables. Maybe change one or two variables between email A and email B and see which one drives results. For checkout, do a couple of these things. See which drive results. You don't need to offer everything. You don't need to put all your eggs into one basket. Now, after the purchase, you think it's over. I got them to purchase. I'm done. I got them to buy the product. Well, now there's this thing called post-purchase customer loyalty, right? You want them to come back. You want them to engage. You're not done there. You want them to feel comfortable. There's an idea of post-purchase discontent. Sorry, I couldn't think of the word there. And that's where consumers buy something and then feel regret over buying it. It was too much money. They shouldn't have bought it. They're not sure they're going to get it. Jumping right on that opportunity to drive contentment, to drive loyalty is huge. And some of these are examples of ways to do it. Surprise and delight, adding a free product in the box when they receive it, sending them an email thanking them. I used to send one-on-one emails when my company was smaller to every single person who bought it. And that drove a lot of awareness and engagement initially. Free gifts, drive the relationship in a manner that works for your consumers. So that's the marketing platform. Let's talk about the actual advertising piece of it. What is the creative? How do I get them to engage? How do I get them excited about the product? Well, you want them to decode the message in a way that makes sense. So receivers decode messages differently. We need to adjust how consumers can decode something. So for instance, what I mean by decoding is what they take away from this. So Brittany, putting you on the spot once again, as I like to do every so often. If we look at this advertisement here, What do you see? What is the advertisement for? Just generally speaking.
Breakfast food.
How do you know it's breakfast?
It looks like eggs and cheese.
What else is in this ad that also connotes breakfast? It's at your subconscious level. I guarantee you saw, but now I'm going to try and bring it to your conscious awareness.
The sun in the branding.
Back here, what is this guy?
Oh, cup of coffee.
Cup of coffee. So I guarantee you saw the subconscious level, but these are the different codes that people put in. This is not a coffee advertisement. You don't need coffee in here. They put that in there to connote breakfast, that full breakfast experience. It helps consumers decode the message so that you don't look at this and say, is this like a lunch snack? Is this you immediately go to breakfast with the eggs, coffee, etc. That's a way we decode. One of the most powerful things people use in advertisement these days, you probably won't get this one, Brittany, but what do you think is included in so many advertisements these days, TV, print, that builds trust with consumers? If you get this, I'll give you $100.
A face.
A face. Well, that's a good answer, but no, it's a pet. The ad will have nothing to do with anything to do with pets, but having a pet at our subconscious level, when we decode the message, instills trust that this is someone I can relate to, that they are good people, that the brand is good. Pets is incredibly powerful. Separate digression, but we spend more on our pets than our family these days. And so that really drives that relationship. Decoding is huge. Having things in the commercial, the advertisement to create that awareness of what you're trying to go after is important. One of my favorite frameworks ever when you're looking at advertisement is the ABLE. So Brittany, we're going to put you on the spot here in a minute again. So I'll give you, the opportunity to learn this with me. But A for attention. Does the ad drive attention? So many advertisements do this well, but then fail on B, L, and E. So let's keep going. Is there a benefit? What is the clear benefit to the ad? Does it link back to the brand or product? Think about Super Bowl ads. We all watch the Super Bowl, or a lot of us watch the Super Bowl because we love football, but also because the advertisements are so good. How many times a day after you're like, oh, I love that one with the explosions and the other thing? And you're like, what brand is that for? I have no idea. And these are people spending literally millions of dollars on the advertisement. They forget the most important thing, the link. What are you trying to sell me? And then finally, equity, which is also really important. Does it tie in to the brand and what it stands for? So as an example, Brittany, what does Volvo typically stand for? As a car brand. Oh, this might be above your age range. I don't know, Latasha, if you're on, but you probably know Volvo stands for safety, right? I'll give you an easy one. What does Ferrari stand for?
Hot.
Yeah.
Fast. Speed. Exactly. So what if you saw an ad for, so now that you know that Volvo always stood for safety, what if you saw an ad for Volvo that was all about speed and sex appeal and all of those things? It wouldn't tie in. It might be a cool ad, but Volvo at its core is known for safety. So they always want to tie back into that. This is how you review ad creative. If you're designing it yourself, this is a way to make sure that you're tied in. Give it to somebody else. Give them this framework and say, do I hit all of these things? So let's look at some examples here. Using the ABLE model, let's go. Does the first ad on the top left, the one with the goldfish, does that drive your attention? Yeah.
That's
benefit. What's the benefit here?
Oh, it's a Volkswagen ad.
So that's a link back to the brand. The benefit here, right, is that you are driving, that they are able to park and do it in a way that's really precise, right? So there's park assist, and then equities that ties back to what Volkswagen stands for, which is potentially technology. Now, what's really important, obviously, is does this work with the target? Because we're probably not the target for this ad. So that's number one. But number two is it does a great job of driving attention, in my opinion. I think this is a very unique ad. Immediately, I want to engage. That's great. Now you've caught your consumer's attention. The benefit, it's not clear by just looking at the pictures, but when you look at the picture tied in with the tagline, which is really simple, that makes sense, the link ties back to the brand Volkswagen, and the equity fits. So this is a really good ad. And I think these other two also are great examples. So for instance, Ajax, nothing quicker. That's a great ad. You got a pouring cup of juice with a slice in between it from the cleaning solution, right? That's, I think, powerful ad. It captures my attention. The benefit, I think, is crystal clear. The link and the equity work as well. So again, all of these things work very, very powerfully. However, the important thing, especially with Ajax and Febreze, that these are not awareness. These are not top of the funnel ads, because again, they assume that you kind of understand what the core proposition of Febreze is already, and that you know what Ajax is already. Volkswagen is more of an awareness driving ad because it's telling you, hey, I have this feature. Look at this feature I have. So again, where are you at in that ADA chart? Awareness, interest, desire, action. Where are you in that purchase cycle? So that's a way to do it. Now, we all want to think that marketing has a dramatic and direct impact, but I will tell you that one of the challenges we need to recognize is there's something called a lagged effect. They rarely, if ever, have an immediate impact. Now, sales promotions typically do, but even a sales promotion might require action. They see the sales promotion, they have to go to the grocery store to buy it, or they see it, they need to go to the website. There's not any immediacy that can be created. And then often multiple exposures are necessary. So typically it takes 3 to 6 marketing exposures for someone to latch onto a brand awareness. Obviously, frequency and how fast they're seeing those two things are important, or between those 6 engagements, but it takes between 3 and 6 to really have that impact. So, okay, so now we got all of this. How much do we want to spend on the advertising? Well, there's a bunch of different ways to think about spend for your advertising budget. The first is, what's the role that advertising is playing in your promotional budget, in your objective? Are you at the awareness cycle? Awareness typically needs a little bit more budget because you're trying to teach people not only about your brand, about your new product. There's something there. Where are you in the sales cycle? Is it a new product? Is it an existing product? And that goes into that life cycle, right? We want to change the budget over time. And we want to change the focus over time. So that budget will change over time. And then ultimately, the nature of the market, how big is your target market? How many people are you trying to sell? How big of sales do you need? All of those will impact your sales budget. So there's a few different methods out there to really setting and allocating a marketing budget. There's competitive parity, right? Which is basically saying, I have 5% market share. I'm going to go spend 5% of what this market spends on advertising as my budget, give or take. The problem here is if you do that, in theory, you're always going to stay at the same market share because you're not changing. You're just spending at parity with where you're at. It also doesn't allow you to change your budget based on whether you're launching a new product, whether the marketplace has changed, whether you have new news. All of those things really impact, and that's a downside of competitive parity. But it does give you a baseline by which to think about your budget. Next one is percentage of sales. A lot of companies do this, and again, similar problems to what the limitations are of competitive parity. We say, hey, we're going to spend 15% of our budget on marketing. Well, again, that doesn't allow flexing for when you need to spend more, maybe when you need to pull back, when there's changes in the marketplace. It doesn't allow for that flexibility. But again, it's a benchmark. And then available budget is how a lot of people do it also, which is say, I have my revenue is expected to be X, my expenses are Y. Well, the remainder to still allow me to have profit is Z, therefore my budget's going to be this. Well, again, that one has the same limitations, and it doesn't assume that marketing drives sales, which done well, marketing is probably one of the most important things to drive sales. So I'm a big fan of the objective task method, which is, what is my objective? What is the media I need to spend it on? And how much do I need to spend to hit that goal? But competitive parity, percentage of sales, and available budget are incredible benchmarks for you to use. So they do have their purpose, but they shouldn't be the be all end all. So when I'm creating my marketing budget for year like 2023 as an example, I use all of these methods and I get a number. And then I think about, what am I launching new products? What months am I launching new products? Am I going to trade shows? What months are those trade shows? Do I have sales promotions I want to support with additional marketing? All of those different things should really focus on how you spend your marketing budget. The other piece is reach or frequency. So this is really important. There's a couple of different things as we think about market called penetration and aided or unaided awareness. Penetration is how much of your target have you gone into? As an example, The way to measure penetration typically is over a time period, typically 1 year. And you say, of my target market, 10% have bought my product. That is a 10% penetration. Awareness is how much of your target market knows about your product. So if I ask Brittany, do you know what Kapap is? You would say,
yes, of course.
yes, and you love it. That means out of I'm one of one with Brittany, I have 100%. If Brittany was my target, I have 100% awareness. That's called aided awareness. This is really, really important because I said, Brittany, do you know about Kapap? I aided her in answering that question. It's really important to have aided awareness because you want people to know about your brand. If I said to Brittany instead, Brittany, what is your favorite type of, what's your favorite restaurant? Your favorite chain restaurant? What would you say?
Chuy's.
Chuy's. That's unaided awareness. That's even more powerful because I didn't guide her. I didn't say, hey, of these 5 restaurants, what's your favorite? McDonald's, Burger King, Chuy's, Applebee's, etc. What's your favorite? I said blankly, what's your favorite restaurant? And you said Chuy's. The power in unaided awareness is that that's what people are going to gravitate to. You don't need to hit them over the head. They're immediately becoming established with that property, with that brand. Now, when we advertise and we market, we want to think about that. Am I trying to go deep within my particular target? I.e., do I want more people to be penetrated, or do I want a lot of people to know about it and kind of skim the surface? Again, it depends on where you're at in your purchase cycle, where you're at in the brand awareness cycle, etc. So frequency, reach are all of those things that we're talking about. Now, frequency times reach is called gross rating points. That's an industry term. So if you're ever doing advertising and they say, this is your GRPs, you'll now know it's how many times your ad's going to air and how deep in your target it's going to go. And that also factors into web check. So I hope at a high level, I've given you some tools to think about direct marketing and the toolkits and the knowledge to get after it and start that process. This is at the 30,000 foot level. There are so many steps down below each of these, and I am happy and willing to help you with questions at any point, consulting, etc. You can reach out to me directly through dustinpfinkel@gmail.com, through Brittany, through Latasha, through your counsel, and I hope this gave you the needs to get started on your direct marketing campaign.